Hey guys, this is Tracy Latona. Welcome to this week's Tracy's Tuesday Talks. The topic of conversation is preparing for a recession. So I want to take some time and just dive into what is a recession? How is it different than an economic depression? What causes a recession? How do we get out of it? And how to prepare for one and make sure that your household is safe and secure as well. So a recession is basically when there are two quarters, so 6 months or more, of gross domestic product or GDP decline, meaning that there is a downturn in the economy. There's a downturn in trade and industrial activity. It's reduced. The first quarter of this month, the GDP or gross domestic product, basically the thing that drives the economy, was reduced by a full whopping 1.4%. And I say that with as much sarcasm as possible. When people hear the word recession, they tend to panic, they tend to freak out a little bit. They think back to what happened to the Great Recession in between 2007 and 2009, when so many people lost their jobs, the housing market crashed, and it was just a bad day. I was pretty young. I was just starting off on my own during the Great Recession. So I didn't know any better during that time. But a lot of people, when they hear that word recession, they think, oh no, it's going to happen again. Just breathe, turn off the news, and let's dive into some information. So while a recession is 2 quarters or 6 months of economic downturn, a depression is like a recession on steroids. It's far greater downturn. It lasts a lot longer, lasts years versus quarters. And it's a lot harder to dig out of for the economy to dig out of. Just wanted to pause here and note, anytime that there has been a downturn in the economy, it has historically recovered to greater growth and strength than what it was before the downturn. That's why people who invest in the stock market for the long run aren't too panicked about it. So in a recession, what happens is because there is downturn, people aren't spending as much money. Companies aren't getting the sales that they need to stay profitable. They're not moving as much products. And what happens is they go to their number one cost and try to cut it, which is payroll. So layoffs tend to happen. Now, I don't know what is going to happen between what's going on right now with the great worker shortage and then all of a sudden companies saying, hey, I don't really need a whole lot of workers right now because we're not really making enough money to be able to support more workers. So I'm suspecting there might be a little bit of a balance to the workforce with this. I'm not an economist, but logically, I'm thinking if a recession means that there's not a need for workers, and where we're in right now is heaven help us, we need people to work, there might be a little bit more balance to the situation with the worker shortage. So what happens to Sorry, that's my dog barking. That's cost, by the way. So what's happening with our economy right now with this crazy inflation? So basically a recession is the result of high periods of inflation that go on for a long time. With inflation, what's happening is there is a huge difference in supply and demand. Look at gas prices, look at your grocery stores, everyone is feeling it. There's more demand than there is supply. So that drives up those prices like to ridiculously high rates. Gas is $4.99 a gallon here in Southern Indiana as of like June 6th of yesterday, 2022. And what's happening is people aren't spending as much because everything is so expensive. What's happening is they're maybe not going on vacation this year, or maybe they're not splurging at the grocery store, or maybe they're not eating out as much. or maybe they're putting off that project on their house that they wanted to get done. So because of stuff like that, because of spending habits, people aren't spending as much. And what's happening with getting out of inflation is the government increases interest rates. So how does increasing interest rates get us out of inflation? When the interest rates increase on things like credit cards, loans, mortgages, by the way, check your credit card interest rate. It's probably gone up several points. I'd be surprised if it didn't, unless you had like a locked in thing. People are less likely to get a loan or buy a house or max out their credit card because they're like, oh my gosh, I'm spending 36% on this stupid APR on this dumb credit card. So they don't spend as much. And what that does is that relieves the demand so that the supply can catch up. And it's the same thing in the opposite direction. When the economy needs stimulation, like it did right before COVID started happening, during COVID started happening, interest rates go down, so that encourages people to buy. So that's a little bit of what's going on with the economy. So with the recession, that may or may not happen. We've only had 1 quarter of downturn. Not quite sure how we're doing as of right now, what's going to happen in the next month or so. There's a couple of things that you can do. The first one is to remain calm. The first one is to remain calm. What happened in 2007 to 2009 was so crazy that it's very, very rarely likely to happen again. If we do hit a recession, it's not, I don't believe it's going to be anything like that. So remain calm. And all you can do is focus on your own household. Do a budget, financial coach. I'm going to be saying this all the time. Do a budget, not just a spending plan. Actually track your expenses and see where your money's going. Otherwise, it's a spending plan. That's what Congress does. Don't be like Congress. If you don't have anything in savings, please get a starter emergency fund. Dave Ramsey recommends $1,000. That doesn't seem like a whole lot, but it is enough to be able to ward off some of the smaller emergencies. You blow a tire, your alternator goes out. You got to call a plumber to snake your sink, that kind of thing. So that way you're not depending on debt to cover those things. Next thing, pay off debt. Please pay off debt. With interest rates going higher, if you have debt, you're going to be paying more. It's going to cost you more in the long run. So if you have that starter $1,000 emergency fund, and then you list all of your debts out from smallest amount owed to largest amount owed, not looking at the interest rates, not looking at how much your monthly payment is. The reason we do it that way is because money is 80% behavior and 20% knowledge. If it were all math, you wouldn't be in debt in the first place. When you get those quick wins by paying off the small ones, that gives you the motivation and the excitement to keep going. Next, if you are worried about the stock market, I encourage you to talk to your investment professional. In 2007 to 2009, a lot of people pulled out of the stock market because they were afraid. They thought that they were losing money. Please talk to your investment professional. Don't make any rash decisions without consulting a professional first. Don't make any money decisions based off of emotion. It's really hard to do, but it's really easy to screw up your financial life if you live your life that way, making decisions based purely on emotion without talking to a professional first. Remember, whatever happens, you can control what happens in your household. You can control your actions, your reactions, and your mindsets. And I encourage you, if you want to know more, if you want to learn more of how to take control of your finances or how to align your finances with your personal values, I would love to have a conversation with you. Remember, stay calm, don't panic. Budget if you aren't budgeting already. Get a starter emergency fund of $1,000. Pay off your debt, please. That is how you can prepare and plan for a recession, if it even comes. All right, guys, please reach out to me, call, text, or chat, direct message me if you would love to have a conversation. I offer complimentary conversations to guide people to confidence and clarity with their finances to achieve financial freedom through mindset and behavior change. Thanks so much, guys. Have a blessed day.